This is the Scrum Feed, where Paul Dalligan and I take apart the top stories in the NRL each week. This week, Payne Haas' mega deal to join the Rabbitohs. 26 will be Adam Reynolds' year as a player. Will Nathan Cleary cross codes at the end of his Panthers contract? Craig Bellamy re-signs as Storm coach and will continue until the end of 2028. State of Origin will cross the Dutch in 2027 and be played in New Zealand. And the pre-season challenge continues this weekend with a full round of matches. Paul Dalligan, where do we start?
Well, surely we started what they're calling the biggest signing in 20 years. First, we're going back. There's quite a few stories we've covered. Payne Haas leaving the Premiership Broncos to reunite with the master coach, Wayne Bennett, at my beloved Rabbitohs. I thought it was a joke when it arrived, but you know it's big when even your boss in Brisbane's emailing about it. To let you know about it, and it wasn't with merriment either, given it's his Broncos that Payne Haas is leading. He is the best forward in the game, and there's been talk for a long time about how much he'd be worth if he hit the open market. Well, I think the Rabbitohs have got the checkbook out and paid him. I find a detail that I found today, and it links into the story we'll talk about with Adam Reynolds, is the Broncos offered him less money than he's on for the world's best forward, who's just won a premiership. And you ready for this, Professor? A 1-year deal. So Wayne Bennett is no fool. He would have been waiting in the wings, keeping the pot on simmer, as we call it, and struck before the Broncos knew it hit them. And Latrell Mitchell, apparently, who his New South Wales teammate and very close to, played a big part. And apparently it was cuddles instead of chastised. So Wayne Bennett has a certain management style. And perhaps there are rumours about this. Michael Maguire's management style might have played a part in the defection.
The contract, Paul, reportedly worth $3.6 million over 3 years. So it's a mega contract to start at the start of next season. Now, there's a 10-day cooling off period after lodging the contract. It's said that the Broncos are putting together a, wait for it, mammoth offer. But if you'd been lowballed by the club that you'd won a premiership for, how good would you feel about taking up that offer? Why hadn't they offered it earlier?
I don't think you'll backtrack. There's a lot involved in this. There's principles. It's not an ego thing. He wants to play under Wayne Bennett. I can't help but draw comparisons, Professor. We've talked about this many times before. When the Rabbitohs won the comp, Michael Maguire, instead of relaxing the training, stepped it up. And that was a fallout, well, apparently, of course, with Sam Burgess, because the players thought, we've just won the thing, why should we work harder? Well, of course, that's Michael Maguire's work ethic and perhaps the way it should be. But it's the way that you deal with your players as to whether you repeat in the premiership window when it's open. So I do think there's a lot of involved in this, and I would be stunned if Payne Haas backtracked. He is a man of principle, and I think it's a done deal.
Now, 2 shows ago, Paul, you said that the Rabbitohs' big problem was 2/3 of the salary cap was made up by 1/3 of the players. How did the Bunnies fit him into the cap?
Well, I can tell you how, and I'm reading this now. At the end of 2027, our Sydney will have the most players off contract, 22 coming off contract at the end of 27. So that is what we call a premiership window. We are presuming that next year it's all or nothing, and that may be due to the fact that Wayne Bennett also finishes up at the end of 2027. Perhaps it's chips in. All chips are in.
Well,
the next year for the Rabbitohs.
Okay, Paul, good segue though. Wayne Bennett is close to signing a contract extension with the Rabbitohs that'll take him through to the end of 2028. One source said he's the guy who adds the special sauce. You agree with that?
Well, without him, we wouldn't be landing the best forward in the game. And I would presume that part of Payne Haas leaving the Michael Maguire style of management / F-bomb every second word, but it appears to be successful for him, is the Wayne Bennett link. So I'd be surprised if Payne Haas is arriving for 3 years in 2027 and Wayne Bennett's out the door at the end of the first of those 3 years. So the option for Wayne Bennett, and he does love an option more than a foreign exchange trader, as we know, the option for Wayne Bennett is to be the first coach of Papua New Guinea. But I think he's weighed that up. I won't speak for the great man, and he's thought an amazing Rabbitohs roster, backed by Russell Crowe and the Atlassian trillionaire, or venturing into the unknown in Papua New Guinea. I'll take the Gladiator. Thank you.
Paul, double knock for the Premiers when Adam Reynolds says this is going to be his last season. So at the end of the year, they might be saying farewell to Payne Haas and Adam Reynolds. That's 2 big pieces out of a premiership team.
It is, and I was thinking about this before, without blowing the proverbial trumpet. I did tip the Roosters when they won Cronk retiring, tipped the Storm to win it all when Cameron Smith retired. They weren't groundbreaking picks. A lot of people did that. But in this case, they've already won the premiership. And I think this Payne Haas defection will cause a lot of unrest in the Broncos. And I do not, without giving away my predictions, but I don't think they'll be there on the big day this year. And they've also got the rebound effect. Very hard to win a second premiership, putting the Panthers to one side.
A few years ago, Paul, you told me that Craig Bellamy was going to finish up as coach of the Melbourne Storm. He's just signed a contract that takes him through to the end of 2028. He'll be 69 at the end of that contract in 4 games, 6 minor premierships, 11 grand finals, 5 grand final wins. He's made finals 22 out of 23 seasons, and the only time he didn't make the finals was when they were stripped of their points because of a salary cap infringement in 2010. A good choice by the Storm, do you think?
It is, and it reminds me of that meme about Keith Richards, that we've got to start worrying about what world we're going to leave for Keith Richards when we leave, Professor. He might have consulted our good friend Philip Rivers over there in the NFL that you're a long time retired. Once you're gone, you're gone. So unless you're Philip Rivers, of course. So I think what it might be as well, Cameron Smith is looming. Billy Slater's looming. You need an enormous ego, and that's not a criticism to be a coach. I don't think he's ready to hand off yet to the young guns who are both being touted as possible future Storm coaches. It's pretty much a case of I'm enjoying myself. As long as I can offer value to this club and its fans, I'll hang around. And when you call someone a career coach, I think that Exhibit A would be Craig Bellamy.
Paul, is $5 million big enough amount to cross the Dutch for State of Origin?
Yes, Professor, we talk like this. So I think it's an excellent move, but it's going to be great for New Zealand Rugby League. There's always that third game as to where they allocate it. The middle game it'll be. There'll be 50,000 people there at Auckland, and tempted myself to get over there because it's a rugby league mad country. They are growing the game in New Zealand, and this is a big step. I think it's a great idea. It's probably will come at the cost, I presume, of our game in Melbourne, but for the good of the game, I think it's fantastic because the fans there are just as invested as those in Melbourne about whether New South Wales or Queensland wins. It's more about the spectacle, Professor.
Question without notice. When was the last and only time that a State of Origin game was played outside Australia?
1987, I think, perhaps. So maybe I've done my research today, but...
Paul, I'll just lob that one up for you so you can smash it away.
Mr. Preparation, they call me, Professor, you know that. But where was it held? I'll ask you.
Long Beach, California, Paul. And it was a exhibition State of Origin match.
That's it. Back when Donald Trump was just a spectator, perhaps. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It'll be great for the game.
Pre-season challenge, Paul, last week at Kogarah. What about the 12-try fest between Canterbury and the Cowboys?
Well, you don't probably see too much defence. You might see a bit of defence from Ivan Milat, sorry, forgive me, than what's on offer at these pre-season matches. I just don't think you're going to get a lot of that. You're getting all these combinations, different players. It's hard to make sense of what's going on. Speaking of America, it's a lot like the pre-season games they have of the NFL in terms of what you're going to get. But you are seeing some good players come through. We did see Jake Clifford play well for the Cowboys against your Dogs. It was a loss, but both teams played well. Dragons were impressive against the Knights. I still think the Knights are going to be a smoky this year. We'll see what happens. But it is good to see some of these young players coming through in the trials.
Would you be a little bit worried if you were the Cowboys, Paul, that you had 10 of your regular players running out in the match, but the Bulldogs only had 3 and they could only beat the Bulldogs by 2?
Not at all. I think that these games are treated for what they are, just exhibition matches. I actually don't tip the Cowboys to do that well this year, though. You are right, but I wouldn't put too much stock in the pre-season. I'd be looking more at their start to the year because it's such an even competition. They want to be careful up there in the tropics not to fall behind early on.
So round 2, a full slate of matches, Paul, starts Thursday night at Redcliffe. I'm just going to mention some interesting games. The interesting game, Dolphins and Titans.
Yep, an interesting game, that one, all Queensland derby. We're going to see a few new players there. I think the Dolphins are due a good year this year. And as for the Titans, can't see them doing a lot, but I'd love that area to do something. I think it might be the AFL Suns, though, doing something before we see a great team on the Gold Coast.
Raiders against Storm, Paul, 2 of the formed teams from last year that finished up the top of the ladder. That'll be a game that's worth going to see.
It will be. The Storm's always good to watch. I don't know how many big guns they'll put out there, but they've got a few players they've brought in from outside. We will see. But there's also the Maori Indigenous game coming up as well. So that's going to be a fantastic game and always is. But yeah, the Storm will be good to see.
Saturday night, Paul, your Rabbitohs playing the Dragons down at Wynn Stadium. How do you think the Rabbitohs will approach that one?
Well, the player I'm looking forward to seeing is Jamie Humphrey. I think he's named to play because he hasn't signed a contract extension. He might be waiting to see what's on offer elsewhere, but we will see. Mitchell won't play. New signing David Fafita won't be there, and we'll see who we've got out there. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Rabbitohs this year, I can tell you that.
We'll finalise this one, Paul. Sunday night's game, Sharks against the Eels. The Eels, a lot to prove. They've been in the newspaper or the media for all the wrong reasons.
They have been, and I don't think they're doing the wrong thing, but we will see. We've talked about it on air. They've got a very interesting player, Jonah Pezzett. They're playing who could replace him when he goes to the Broncos in that very unusual contract where he's at the Eels for 1 year, then the Broncos. Lorenzo Talataina, you remember the name. So he's apparently flagged to be number 7 for the Eels in 27.
Could you say that 3 times fast for me, Paul?
Lorenzo Talataina. I've probably pronounced it differently the second time around.
That's much better the second time.
I think we'll stick with LT for the moment till we have someone more proficient than us have a crack at it, Professor.
And you mentioned the Maori playing the Indigenous Challenge match Sunday afternoon. It's in Hamilton. Be worth watching that one on the TV because they always take it seriously.
I was an exchange student there many years ago, and Hamilton's a great part of the world, and I'm tipping the Maori team to win at home, but it is a great game, and there's such proud players, and it's just a fantastic exhibition of the code and what different teams can bring.
Finish up with this one this week, Paul. Nathan Cleary said he's open to a code switch at the end of his Panthers contract. True or false?
Well, I think he could be open to a politician career because I can tell you the exact words he used. At this point in time, I'm happy being a Panther. Now, isn't that when someone gets the support of the board, or a politician would be proud of that wording? But he said, you never know what can happen. So much can happen in a week, let alone 2 years. I'm still contracted for 2 years. And at this point in time, there it is again. I'm still trying to squeeze the juice out of the lemon. Enjoy it. Enjoy the journey we're on, and we'll see what happens. So I don't think that's great comfort to a Panthers fan. But
well, Paul, I would have thought it's an indication to the Panthers hierarchy that you better sharpen your pencils.
Or he's got his dad coaching, so he could probably raise it at the dinner table. But one of the main drivers possibly could be what else has he got left to achieve. His girlfriend, Harry Fowler's based in the UK. As we know, we talk about often rugby union to more international game. He could very easily get a gig in European rugby and be much closer to the love of his life. We saw a shorter journey, but Cooper Crump moved for love from Melbourne to Sydney. If you've got a partner on the other side of the world and you can prove yourself in rugby union, why wouldn't you?
Well, it's a watch this space.
It is.
Thanks very much, Paul. That's all from the Scrum Feed. Until next week.
Thanks, sir. See you next week.